Hey, I'm Alex, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Coup. Coup is a fun, fast, bluffing-based card game. It's really simple to learn and play, rounds last about 15 minutes, and it's good for 2 to 6 players. Each player starts with 2 character cards or influences. As rounds go on, players take turns doing actions that may result in other players being killed off. The last player living wins. Let's talk about setup. I'm going to show you the setup for a 4-player game. Deal out 2 cards to each player face down. Each player also starts with 2 coins. The rest of the coins go in a pile in the center of the table, as well as the rest of the cards. Deal out a cheat sheet as reference to each player. These are useful, especially if it's your first time playing. And that's it. The game's set up and you're ready to play. There are 5 characters in the game and 3 cards of each character making up a 15-card deck. Every character has special abilities and/or counteractions. If you check your cheat sheet, you can follow along with the characters, the actions, the effects, and the counteractions they do. Let's take a minute to talk about actions. As play moves clockwise around the table, each player takes 1 action. Actions include taking income, which means taking 1 coin from the bank. Taking foreign aid, which means taking 2 coins from the bank. You may ask yourself, why would I ever take income when I can take foreign aid and get 2 coins instead? Well, the Duke has a counteraction ability that blocks foreign aid attempts. We'll talk more about counteractions in a bit. Let's look at a coup. You'll pay your 7 coins to the bank and choose another player at the table to lose one of their influences. These are general actions and don't have any association with a character. Now we'll move on to character actions. The character action for the Duke affords you the ability to take tax, which means take 3 coins from the bank. The character action for the assassin is to make an assassination attempt. You'll pay 3 coins to the bank and choose another player to lose an influence. The ambassador allows you to exchange cards. You'll pick up 2 cards from the court deck, and you'll also pick up any face-down cards you have in front of you. You can keep any combination of these cards, new or old. You'll place the cards you want to keep back down in front of you, and then you'll always return 2 cards to the court deck and shuffle them back in. The captain allows you to steal. You'll choose another player and take 2 coins from them. And lastly, we have the Contessa. She only has a counteraction ability to block assassination attempts. Again, we'll talk more about counteractions in a moment. Now that you understand actions, let's talk a little about gameplay. That's where the fun comes in, bluffing. You can take any action you can afford. You do not need to control the character whose action you're taking. Because the cards are placed face down, no one else at the table should know what cards you have, meaning you can take actions from any character, but you're claiming to be that character. Quick side note, you can play as any character on any turn. Let's say, for instance, I was dealt the captain and the Contessa, but on my turn, I'm going to take tax. If you look at the cheat sheet, the action tax is associated with the character Duke, which I don't have. I'm bluffing. If players believe me, I've taken my 1 action and play moves on. If the other players don't believe me, they have a chance to challenge, which means they think that I'm lying. Any player can challenge any action or counteraction that's associated with a character. For this instance, tax, which is associated with Duke. I'm giving other players at the table the ability to challenge me. If they challenge me and I am in fact lying, I have to choose one of my influences and kill it. By killing it, I flip it face up on the table, and now one of those characters is out of the game. If I've been challenged and I'm not lying, what I do is I flip over my card, proving that I had the character whose action I was taking. That challenge is now unsuccessful. I will get a new card face down. The card that I had to flip over gets shuffled back in the deck. The player who challenged me now has to flip over one of their living influences, thereby killing it and eliminating it from the game. And that's the simple premise to the game. The last person with a living influence card wins. Let's talk about counteractions. Counteractions are moves players can make in order to block other players' attempts to do things. Like actions, counteractions are associated with characters and are challengeable. And like actions, you don't actually have to have control over the influence whose counteraction you're attempting to use. Looking at the cheat sheet, you can see that the Duke has a counteraction ability to block foreign aid. meaning if someone else at the table were trying to take foreign aid, by taking 2 coins, the Duke can say, I have the Duke, I block that. Again, it's challengeable. The Ambassador has a counteraction that blocks attempts at stealing. When another player attempts to steal from you with a captain, you can say, I have Ambassador, I block your stealing. The captain blocks stealing in the exact same way as a counteraction. If someone else were trying to attempt to steal from you with a captain, you can claim to have the captain and block that stealing attempt. The Contessa only has a counteraction ability which blocks assassination attempts. When another player attempts to assassinate you, you can claim to have the Contessa and block that assassination attempt. Again, because these counteractions are associated with characters, they are challengeable. Let's say, for instance, another player at the table claims to have the captain and attempts to steal 2 coins from me. I can block that attempt with a counteraction ability. The counteraction ability to block is either Ambassador or Captain, so be specific about which one you're blocking with, because any other player at the table can challenge you. There are 3 ways in which to lose influence cards in the game. Let's look at a coup. You pay 7 coins to the bank, you choose another player at the table, and they have to kill one of their living influence cards by turning it face up. This is not associated with a character, and therefore, it's not a challengeable or counteractable ability. When you pay 7 coins to the bank, boom, another player has to kill one of their influences. If you start your turn and you have 10 or more coins, you have to coup on that turn. Another way to lose influence cards is by challenges. If you've been challenged and you are lying, again, you'll flip over one of your living influence cards. If you've been challenged and you were telling the truth, the other person flips over one of their living influence cards. The last and probably most confusing way to lose influence cards is with assassination attempts. The player claiming to be the assassin pays 3 coins to the bank, chooses another player at the table to lose one of their influence cards. If no one challenges the assassination attempt, meaning all the other players at the table believe the person attempting to do the assassination does in fact have the assassin card, then the player being assassinated accepts their fate and flips over one of their living influence cards, eliminating it from the game. There are 2 ways to lose both influence cards on one turn, and they both have to do with assassination attempts. If I challenge that assassination attempt and I'm wrong, that player does in fact have the assassin, I will have to flip over both of my influence cards, one for being wrong on the challenge and one for a successful assassination attempt. I'm now eliminated from the game. I no longer have any living influence cards. The other way to lose both influence cards in one turn is by claiming Contessa and being challenged and being wrong about it. If someone were attempting to assassinate me and I claim Contessa and anyone at the table challenges me, I have to lose one of my influences for being wrong on a challenge, and then I also lose one of my influences for their successful assassination attempt. One thing to note, the player attempting the assassination always pays their 3 coins to the bank no matter what else happens. It doesn't matter if that other player claims Contessa, it doesn't matter if you've been challenged and you don't actually have the assassin, you'll always pay your 3 coins to the bank. If you have to flip over your second influence card, meaning both of your cards are now face up on the table, you're eliminated from the game and you no longer participate. Let's talk about some example turns. If the player just before me takes tax, and I look and I see 2 dead dukes at the table. I don't have a duke, but I got a pretty sneaking suspicion that this player doesn't actually have the duke. I challenge. They prove to me they did have the duke, meaning I was wrong on a challenge. I'll lose one of my influences. They'll get a new card. That duke gets shuffled back into the deck. It's my turn. I'm going to claim Ambassador. I pick up 2 cards from the deck, pause for a moment to see if anyone's going to challenge me, and then I'll pick up any living influence cards I have on the table. In this case, I only have 1 living influence card, so I'll only be able to pick up 1 card. As you can see, it wasn't an Ambassador. I was bluffing and I got away with it. I can decide I want to keep any of these cards. I'll put it back face down in front of me, and then I'll shuffle those cards back into the deck. Anytime cards get put back in the deck, challenges, ambassadors, you'll always shuffle the deck before placing it back on the table. Now it's the next player's turn. This player has no living influences. They've been eliminated from the game. We'll keep going. This player is going to make an assassination attempt against me. Luckily, I just picked up the Contessa from my ambassador pool. I say, I claim Contessa, I'm blocking your assassination attempt. Remember, don't just flip over the Contessa card to block that assassination attempt. I know it gets really exciting and you want to be able to prove to them that you can block it, but remember, you could be lying about it. You have to wait to be challenged to be able to show that you have the Contessa. I claim Contessa. They challenge me. I prove that I do in fact have the Contessa. I'll get a new card from the deck, face down, and then that Contessa gets shuffled right back in. And now that player challenged me incorrectly. They'll have to lose their last remaining influence card. Now the new card I received is a Duke, meaning two things. Now I know that this person does not have the Duke because there are two other dead Dukes on the table and I have the last one in my hand. It also means that it's pretty safe to start taking foreign aid. Let's say it gets back to my turn. I could pretty safely take tax to try and beat this player to 7 coins for a coup, but in this case, I'm going to take foreign aid in an attempt to bait that player to block me. I know that they can't block me with their Duke because I have it. So let's say they try and block my foreign aid attempt. I can safely challenge and win the game because I'm the last person with a living influence card. This is always one of my favorite games to get new players introduced to tabletop gaming. It's a simple mechanic and rounds happen pretty fast, so it's not too intimidating for them to get used to. And once they start to play this and they love it, they might be more inclined to play some more complex games. And that's it. That's how to play Coup. If this video helped you, consider subscribing and leave a comment about what video you'd like to see me make next.